Hello everyone, I've brought forth another Hazbin Hotel related video because apparently that's my channel's legacy now. So you know that music video Addict, right? The one starring Angel Dust? Well, a channel called Absolute Degenerate made a negative music review on it, and shock of all shocks, I'm actually not defending Hazbin Hotel related content for once. I'm actually covering Lindata, another slideshow commentator who made a less than stellar commentary on Degenerate. That's all you need to know, so let's get on to the video.
Hello everyone, I'm the Absolute Degenerate, and today we're going to be reviewing Addict by Silverhound. It is a fan song based on the series Hazbin Hotel from creator Vivsy Pop. The song even features Michael Kovac, Angel Dust's voice actor in Hazbin Hotel, as well as another vocalist by the name of Chi-Chi.
Now, quite frankly, I'm not the biggest fan of Hazbin Hotel. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's definitely not something I would actively go back to. However, as you could probably gather, I'm here to talk about the song Addict, not the pilot episode of Hazbin Hotel.
Exactly. You are not here to talk about the Hazbin Hotel pilot, so why do you need to talk about it for this long? This is 30 seconds out of a video that is 3 minutes and 42 seconds.
So in other words, not even 1/3 of the video. Which would imply that most of it is still focused on the points. I think you're overblowing this issue a little bit.
You give this part more of the spotlight, based on runtime at least, than any point you make against the song itself and, as we will see later, go more in depth with this part as well. Look, some of that is context about the origin of the song, but the origin of the song is simply not that relevant at the end of the day, as it has nothing to do with the song's quality.
Well, considering that the song is conceptualized around Hazbin Hotel, it actually is kind of important to mention this since it answers the questions of what's the song about, who made it, and why was it made, which are generally themes people who watch music reviews tend to want to know about a song. But if you want to argue that Degenerate's opinion on Hazbin Hotel as a whole is still irrelevant, again, this is a song about Hazbin Hotel. That's basically being used to promote the show due to it being on Vivsy's channel. It would at least make sense to give a passing glance as to what your overall thoughts to the source material are, since this plays heavily into the song. It's not even like he went into an entire novella about how Hazbin Hotel is the worst thing ever, either. He just spent a handful of seconds giving some background information on the song's production, and made one short sentence saying that he doesn't like the show it's based on. You can argue that doesn't affect the song's quality, but that's the main problem I have with this point overall. Reviews don't just focus on the quality of whatever they're reviewing. They're analyzing and summarizing it to inform their audience of what their opinion on the subject is. This is especially true with YouTube reviews, which tend to be heavily based on the content creator's personality, so it's likely the audience would be interested in the background information of the song and the content creator's opinion on what relates to it.
I don't give a damn.
This is pretty clearly a meme, but there are two problems with it. The first problem being that this raped my ears more than the average YTP video from 2010 would. The second problem being that it simply isn't correct. Canonically speaking, Angel Dust is not in a harem at all. He is drugged by the smoke from the cigarette smoked into his face in the very clip you used and implied in the reprise at the end of the song.
I'm going to stop you right there because Degenerate never said Angel was in a harem, it was that he committed haram, which is by definition something that is forbidden by Islamic law. So this entire point is based on you misconstruing what the joke was to begin with.
I've got better things to do.
Now, why do I hate this song so much? Oh, there's a multitude of reasons for that, but I'll start with the biggest issue I have with this song. Michael Kovac is a god-awful singer. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, his voice is so flat. It's especially bad whenever he tries to hold out notes.
Damn.
No wonder they auto-tuned the shit out of the high note at the end of his verse. And I don't want to hear any excuses along the lines of, oh, but it's fine, because he's singing in the voice of Angel Dust. Just because there's a reason for something being a certain way doesn't negate any criticism towards said thing. And either way, his vocal performance on this song is still utter garbage.
Wanna know something that can damage the relevance of your criticism? How you don't fucking elaborate anything. You just make your point, a completely subjective one mind you, and just leave it at that. I apologize, but your audience won't be able to read your fucking mind and just know how the song is as bad as you feel it is.
Degenerate said that the song sounded flat, showed clips of Angel singing, and stated how that was probably why they auto-tuned him so heavily on the high notes. The explain card doesn't really work here since he's reviewing a mainly auditory medium. The most you could do are highlight points where the singing is particularly flat, but Well, that's exactly what Degenerate did here. So how would he be able to further explain this? If the singing is flat, then the singing is flat. Aside from that, I want to touch on this bit in particular.
You just make your point, a completely subjective one, mind you.
Lindata, the clip you played showed that Degenerate made this review to explain why he doesn't like the song.
Now, why do I hate this song so much? Oh, there's a multitude of reasons for that. But I'll start with the biggest issue I have with this song.
So obviously the points he makes are going to be subjective, since, surprise surprise, that tends to be the point of a review. Now, if Degenerate stated that he was trying to be objective here, or reframing these points to be objective, then maybe your point would have had some merit, but he isn't doing that, and if he is, you certainly don't show it, so your argument doesn't work here since he is speaking subjectively.
The amount of detail you go into with this is even more of a kick to the balls of your argument when your intro is longer and in more depth than the actual critique of the song, which is the point of the video, for you to just give your opinion on the song without really saying why.
He did say why though. He thought the singing was flat. Just because he didn't explain how the singing was flat, which, again, how is that even possible to do, that's still an explanation for disliking the song.
Then you have the instrumental on this song, which is the most generic pop instrumental beat I've ever heard. It starts off with an overly simple keyboard melody, followed by generic finger snapping. Add what I imagine are some very quiet bass chords. Stop the beat for a generic build-up to the drop during the chorus, drop said beat, and I have described God knows how many early 2010s hip-hop/EDM songs. And don't you dare say being generic doesn't make something inherently bad. No, but it does make the song unoriginal and boring, seeing as it literally does nothing new with the formula I just mentioned earlier.
I don't entirely agree with that point. Sure, being generic is inherently unoriginal, but that wouldn't make it inherently boring, since A, there are plenty of people out there who don't have the musical acumen to pick up on how these songs use the same tactics, and B, there is an audience for people who like the same old being on repeat over and over again, with me being an example of that since I'm one of those people who hum Christmas carols all year long despite how overplayed they are. However, that is just me, and if you were trying to say that you personally find the song boring because of how generic it is, then I apologize. But since you juxtapose this point with the generic isn't inherently bad argument, it comes off like you were trying to say that generic is inherently boring, when in reality, it's more of a case-by-case issue.
But here is the problem. Given that you don't actually disprove the idea that being generic and being bad don't go hand in hand, the point still stands as you just say that you will just make your point anyways while still seeing how your point is faulty.
What? But the point was that while a generic song may not have a bad structure, it can still make it boring to listen to since people have heard the same chord progressions over and over and over and over and over. Point is, he doesn't need to disprove the generic isn't inherently bad point, since that wasn't the argument he was trying to get at in the first place.
As for the lyrics, they're fine for the most part, but as far as I'm concerned, there's not much worth mentioning, and a majority of the lyrical content of the song can just be summed up as, I don't give a fuck, and I'll do what I want.
Holy fuck, your very own segments of the lyrics you show here prove your point completely wrong, and it is not even remotely considered subjective at this point. While the lyrics of Addict can have that I don't give a fuck vibe to them, that is far from the only thing they can say. Looking at the lyrics of verse 2 you show, this can imply that love itself is something that will just drag you deeper down into a situation that gets worse and worse as it goes on if you are not careful, and as the death rains from above, your situation won't get that much better even if you do get out of love, so you may as well just count your blessings as you won't be seeing another again. Point being, there is more to the lyrics than just saying that you can do whatever you please, and if you expressed due diligence and actually knew what you were talking about, you would have been able to catch that. Sure, you use the word majority in this case, but if it was the majority of the lyrics boiling down to do what you want, you would have been able to show more than 2 lines that directly support this idea.
So there's a funny little thing about this argument, Lindata. It can be turned right back at ya, since if Degenerate's wrong, and the majority of these lyrics aren't about I'll do whatever I want, then you should be able to show more than one example that proves otherwise. After all, you're the one claiming that his point was completely wrong, so where's the evidence that proves the majority of these lyrics have more depth to them? Because your one example doesn't prove that it's the majority of the lyrics, and as the commentator, it's your job to provide the evidence. With that in mind, would you and the audience like to know what the chorus of this song is?
To the madness, this hotel is my landness. We're forever gonna have a fucking reason to sin. Let me leave my soul to burn and I'll be breathing it in.
In other words, I'm insane, I'm using this place to party, will always be sinful, so I'm embracing it. The fact that those last 2 lyrics in particular get repeated throughout the song further proves Degenerate's point that the majority of the lyrics of the song amount to I'll do whatever I want. Now, could Degenerate have brought that up? Sure, but at the same time, Lindata, your claim's still extremely shaky.
And before anyone says,
But it's good because of the music video. The music video gives more of a backstory about Yay, harem spiders!
So you immediately portray people who will come out against your opinion with one of their own as people who care more for the aesthetics of the music video and not the music itself.
Actually, the point was that the added story details in the music video made the song good, not the aesthetics. Granted, that point has a bit more merit than Degenerate makes it out to be, since Angel's backstory would give more context to the lyrics, but even ignoring how you don't bring that up, this doesn't change how you're strawmanning the straw man.
Given that this debate is meant to be about the song, you just generalize people who disagree with you as people who will blindly defend something without understanding the critique thrown at it. Yeah, that is destructive if I have ever seen it.
Or it was an exaggerated strawman character that was used to address a possible counter-argument. Sure, it's not characterized in the most flattering light, but that could just be done to highlight how the argument itself is dumb. So assuming that he's using this to bash anyone who disagrees with this review is just you assuming the worst out of him.
He just gives his conclusion that I have nothing to say on, so I will move to my own final thoughts. You are perfectly entitled to your opinion, don't get me wrong here.
Then what were all the digs about how his complaints were subjective supposed to mean?
But if you are going to express that, make sure you do more than either just calling it bad with little to no elaboration or examples behind it.
He did elaborate though. He said that the singing was flat and it caused them to abuse the autotune in places. He said the song structure was generic, which made it boring to listen to. He didn't even say the lyrics were outright bad, he just said they were alright, but could have used some more variety. Which brings me to another issue I have, where even if he didn't elaborate, the reasons he gave are fairly self-explanatory. If the singing was flat, it annoys him because it's off-pitch. If the song is boring, he didn't feel inclined to listen to it. If the lyrics don't have much variety, it causes the song to feel repetitive. And honestly, that's the biggest problem I have with this commentary in general, where you constantly take a simple, self-explanatory reason Degenerate makes for disliking the song, and act like he didn't give any reason at all. Sure, a lack of elaboration can be a problem with the review, but that really only works if the reason is extremely vague, or is just, I don't like it, with no any actual descriptor that says why. Anyways, the rest of Lindata's final thoughts are her repeating the points she already made, so I'm going to end the video here, since the only advice I can give at this point is pay closer attention to your target's reasoning. So with all of that out of the way, I hope you all enjoyed the video.